those who came in late. This is the Disenfranchised Podcast, where that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me as always, the co-host who walks, it's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, Stephen. How's it going?
It's going, my man. It goes. Of course, our good friend Brett Wright is lost in the Bengala jungle. We wish him a very speedy and safe return. But in the meantime, Tucker, you and I, we watched a little movie this week. Blast from the past for me, not so much for you. What are we talking about this week?
We straight up watched the motherfucking Phantom, Stephen.
We are talking about the 1996 film The Phantom, directed by Simon Windsor, written by Jeffrey Boehm, and starring the great Billy Zane, Christy Swanson, the late, great Treat Williams, Catherine Zeta-Jones, James Remar, Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa,
Shang Tsung himself.
Your
soul is mine.
November Man's own Bill Smitrovich, Casey Siemaszko, David Proval, Joseph Ragno.
From UHF. David Proval's from UHF.
Yeah, he is.
The staples in his face.
John Tenney, Patrick McGowan, Al Ruscio, John Capodici. What a cast. Tucker, dare I say it? What a picture.
Yeah, dude, both of those things are true. And you said James Remar, but I want to call him out as Dexter's dad because that's what I'm going to call him this entire time when I refer to him. If I refer to him, he will be as Harry Morgan.
This is the first thing I ever saw James Remar in. And like the rest of the world, this was also the first thing I saw Catherine Zeta-Jones in.
Right? I couldn't believe I had no idea she was in that. So I was like, wait a minute, is that little baby Catherine Zeta-Jones? It took about half the movie to be like, yeah, that's her. That's fucking her for sure.
One of her, let's get right into that fucking A. Like, and I was just the right age to get introduced to Catherine Zeta-Jones too. Like I turned 13 the month after this movie came out. I was the right age to get introduced to Catherine Zeta-Jones in this movie. Dude. So this is just a couple years before she was in The Mask of Zorro, which is kind of the movie that catapulted her to fame.
I love that movie too.
It's good.
It's very similar to this movie in the way that it's an old-timey action romp that is just rad as fuck.
It absolutely, and it is her like next movie. But she has done only a handful of movies, and most of those like British Australian films.
Never heard of them.
Right. Like she's in Christopher Columbus, The Discovery in 1992, something called she's in 1001 Nights, a French version of 1001 Nights as Scheherazade in 1990. That's her very first movie. She does an episode of Young Indiana Jones Chronicles in 93.
Hey.
Something called Return of the Native, which I'm sure is very culturally sensitive in 1994.
Sure that holds up.
I'm sure a TV movie about Catherine the Great, where she plays Catherine the Great in 95, and also in 95, a little movie called Blue Juice. So this is kind of her first big Hollywood film. Also in Blue Juice, Sean Pertwee and Ewan McGregor. Fuck me, that is wild. That is fucking wild.
Cast.
That is a weird cast, and it's a surfing movie.
Boy.
So yeah, and she does this. Then later in 96, she's in a TV miniseries about the Titanic called aptly Titanic. And then 2 years later, she's in The Mask of Zorro, and the rest is just all hits, no misses. So like
great in Intolerable Cruelty, BT Dubs. She's really great in that.
Sure. Not a movie I'm a fan of, but yeah, I know you
like
really love it.
Movie.
It's
not. It sounds like I'm being like the contrarian of Coen Brothers fans.
It's pretty contrarian.
Like, Lady Killers and Intolerable Cruelty, I think they're least enjoyed films by most people.
I
love both of those movies.
Those are actually the only two Coen Brothers movies I don't like. So
I like them both, and my least favorite Coen Brothers movie is Hail Caesar, but I still like it.
I really dig Hail Caesar. I think it's
my least favorite.
She's also in future episode of this podcast, Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas, which comes out in 2003.
Oh, that's a movie that already came out. Okay, I never heard of it.
Yeah. Future episode of this podcast, Sinbad. It's the DreamWorks animated film that they did with Brad Pitt.
Oh, they did it in the style of Prince of Egypt, right?
Very much, yes.
That movie's a banger, dude. I don't know if you've seen Prince of Egypt, but that movie is the shit.
Have I seen Prince of Egypt?
Oh yeah, you've seen. That's probably like the only movie you were allowed to see as a kid. It's like the only clamshell like Disney type VHS you have. It's fucking Prince of Egypt.
We were a Disney family growing up, dude.
I believe it.
I fucking loved Disney growing up. I wanted to be an animator for Disney for the longest time when I was a kid. Like that was like my dream job as a child. Like you asked me what I wanted to do, I wanted to be an animator for Disney. But we are talking about The Phantom, a movie I watched in the theater.
Yes, Steven, tell us a little history about your history of the Phantom with you in history.
Well said. No, I watched this. I was obsessed with this movie when it came out. Like I fucking loved it. Like I bought into the marketing hook, line, and sinker. Like I was the target audience for this movie. And I had very little familiarity with the Phantom comics. And when I did finally get into the Phantom comics, I thought they were boring as shit. But I really dug this movie. I had the junior novelization of this movie. I read it cover to cover at least twice. I had multiple actually facsimiles of the Phantom ring. Like the ring that he wears, with the skull ring that he wears in the movie.
Did you have one that lights up? Did you have one that lights up?
No, I wish. No, it was like a mail-in giveaway kind of thing where you like submit box tops. And I think my family was
in the UPCs, man.
Right. I think my family was in the process of
Michigan.
I think my family was in the process of moving during that, so it was like a limit one per household. So I was able to order like multiples because I ordered one at the old address and one at the new one.
You're like, no, this is a completely different Stephen Foxworthy. Can't you see the address is different?
Living in the same city, who fucking cares? It's a very common name.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But whatever. There are dozens of us, sure, but
at least.
I only know of one other one, and he lives in Australia. He's like a proper businessman and probably hates that I come up on searches for his name. It probably just eats him up inside.
We can only hope.
He probably doesn't care. He didn't give two shits one way or the other, I'm sure. But I also had he
doesn't even know who you are.
No, nor should he. I don't really know who he is. I've Googled my name. That's it.
I can't Google my name because I have the exact same name as a very famous kicker for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
So it just all comes up as that guy, just constantly reminding me of what I could have done with my life, because it turns out I found out later in life that I'm really good at kicking a football.
Had you not wasted your 20s, you could have gone somewhere, dude.
Had I known I was good at kicking a football, I would have done football in high school, dude. Kicker? What's kicker got to do? He goes out there and kicks every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Tackled. He's not running. Like, he doesn't have to be a strong. He can be a little ass dude like me. Doesn't matter.
In the movie Necessary Roughness, he was Kathy Ireland.
Yeah, dude. If I had known that I could kick a football when I was in high school, I would have done it for sure. It would have. I've somehow gotten into an alternate timeline where that is me, but also I still exist here. So it really, every time I think about it, and he's an artist, he's a singer, he's a wonderful philanthropist, just everything that I've ever wanted to be is Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens, kicker for the Baltimore Ravens.
He's living.
I just said my full name on the main feed, and that's okay, whatever.
And
I mean,
like,
I said the kicker for the Ravens, like you could look it up.
Like, yeah, you couldn't Google kicker Ravens Tucker and fucking figure it out.
There he is.
But like, I mean, after all the shit we put Joseph through a couple weeks ago for saying your name on the main feed, and you just fucking out and say it like it's nothing. I hope he listens to this episode and writes you a very strongly worded letter, sir.
I hope he does too. I can't wait.
I can't fucking wait. I'm gonna actually shoot him a text after this episode recording's over and be like, be sure to listen to the Phantom episode.
We will. Yeah. We'll read the letter on air.
Yeah, we will. Hell yeah, we will. I'm sure he will. He's a verbose man who loves to write. He will absolutely write us something. But no, yeah, I love this. I even had like rub on temporary tattoos of the Singh
Fuck
Brotherhood
yeah, dude.
tattoo that James Remar has in this movie.
Yeah, the
Like,
spider web, sure.
yeah, had the little Singh Brotherhood spiderweb tattoos. Like, I was all in on this movie. I didn't own it on VHS, but like rented it several times from the video store. Actually told my dad I was watching it for this podcast. Talked to my dad earlier tonight, and he's like, I might watch that too. Gave him my
Fuck yeah,
my Max
dude.
login, and so my dad's watching the Phantom
Yes.
tonight. He goes, I might
Fuck
watch
yeah.
that one with you. That sounds like fun. I like that movie. Every now and again,
Yeah,
I'll tell him
dude.
what I'm watching for this, and he's like, oh, I don't have any interest in that. But every now and again, I'll tell him, and he'll be like, that sounds like fun. I'll watch that one. So I think
Hell
I think he watched the fan. I gave him my Max login, so hopefully he used it and got in and is watching.
This was your Rocketeer. For me, that movie for me around that age was the Rocketeer, and which would be a great double feature with this, by the way.
I was gonna say, like, there's a lot of Rocketeer elements in this. So again, this movie is made possible by Tim Burton's Batman.
I figured it out. Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you so aggressively, but I fucking figured it out. You know how everybody's like, whoa, well, Tim Burton's Batman hit, and then everybody did pulp comics instead of, superheroes. I fucking figured it out, Steven. I solved the riddle. Question answered, internet. It's all right here. It's because the aesthetic of the Tim Burton Batman movie is very, 30s oriented. It takes place in modern times, but the aesthetic of the buildings, the vehicles, the way people dress and stuff, it's very pulpy.
It is.
That's where the studio executives got confused, man. They were like, well, Batman was around in the 40s, and like, look at those cars. That's like Dick Tracy shit right there. So people like pulp heroes, right?
Well, and it's also, I mean, and I know I mentioned this on
I just answered the internet's question. Like,
I know,
can we have a round of applause? Like, come on, I did it. Good job.
Just insert the audio. It's fine.
Yes.
Of an audience cheering.
I was so proud of myself when I figured that out. I was watching the Phantom. I was like, wait a minute, I fucking figured it out.
Well, and I mean, and I know I mentioned this on the Green Hornet episode, but like Batman was a comic strip as well. Like, in this, I mean, the Phantom strip predates Batman's first appearance in comics by like 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, he is one of the first costumed superheroes. I say costumed because the character Dr. Occult came out the year before, who's technically the first superhero, but
he was the first one to wear spandex and a fucking
exactly
what do you
domino
call it?
mask.
Domino mask,
yeah. Dr. Occult's a guy in a fedora and a trench coat. Like,
yeah, and even people like the Shadow is just, again, a guy in a fedora and a fucking trench coat. Like,
exactly.
With a scarf.
With a big scarf up to his nose. Yeah. But I mean, exactly. So that's like, the Phantom is the first costume superhero, one of the first, if not the first costume superhero. And it came out of, so Lee Falk's the creator, and it comes out of a desire to modernize like the classic serialized stories of the days of yore. I think he pitches King's or the King Syndicate.
King Arthur one?
King Syndicate on no, it is King Arthur. Like, he pitches them on a King Arthur strip, and they're like, we don't want it. Like an update of the Arthurian legend. They're like, no thanks. And so he's like, that
became a huge deal after that. That still runs today.
Right, Prince Valiant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't want it. So
not at that point, I guess. So
he went back and, well, I will actually look up when Prince Valiant came out, but he went back and kind of retooled it. And that's how the Phantom was born. It was born out of this desire to kind of tell these types of stories. And in doing so, he creates one of the first ever superheroes as we know them today.
And honestly, he is kind of a proto Batman.
Prince Valiant comes out literally the year after.
Idiots.
The next year. But
that shit's still running, dude.
Yeah, it is. And the Phantom is still, so is the Phantom. Like, the Phantom is absolutely still running. Obviously no longer written by Lee Falk. Obviously he has been let me say famously dead since 1999.
He's straight up deceased.
He is absolutely deceased. But like all of those long running strips, they hand them down to various writers and artists throughout the ages. Like the main the butler of the main character of Diana Palmer is called Falkmore, named after both the original artist Lee Falk and the original writer, or the original writer Lee Falk, the original artist Ray Moore.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is. We got there. But
Yeah.
so that's who that character is named after, which I think is fucking great.
I agree. I totally agree.
But yeah, so, and like, just God, I think I like the concept of the Phantom more than I actually like any of the Phantom stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie's so good. Like, you go back and try to check out anything else, and it's like it's not as good as the movie.
Well, I love the idea of just a generational superhero who's like the mantle is passed on from descendant to descendant, and to the point that everyone thinks it's just the same fucking guy.
Yeah.
Which I think that's kind of funny when you realize that, like, Patrick McGowan, the prisoner himself, is like supposed to be what was the previous Phantom, and Quill gets a good look at both him and Billy Zane and thinks they're the same person.
I mean, when he was younger, maybe. I mean, you got the mask. I feel like when
sure,
when
but
you've
like,
got
he's
when
the,
you're
he's the guy that killed him like 7 years earlier.
It's the 30s, right?
Right.
And like, you're a dumb human in the 30s, like ignorant as fuck. Like you're getting scared when trains come at the screen at the movie theater because you're that ignorant, you know, Steven Spielberg style. But imagine, like, you're in that time, and there's a dude wearing all purple and a domino mask. Are you paying attention to what his jawline looks like? No, dude. You're like, what the fuck is this dude? You've never seen anything like this.
You're very focused on that costume because that.
And you know, I think what struck me as kind of funny for me, specifically being a fan of Dexter, is the fact that James Remar is in this film, and Dexter has a very similar relationship with James Remar in the Dexter Show, where he appears sort of as a phantom that Dexter talks to.
After I think season 1, like, because in season 1 and maybe parts of season 2, he's mostly just there in flashback, and then to keep him in the show, they do bring him back as like a ghost that only Dexter can see and hear.
Yeah, dude.
And then they play with that idea.
James Remar.
They play with that idea in the season with Edward James Olmos and Colin Hanks. They kind of have another character doing the same kind of thing.
Oh, and if you watch, that's how they get Deb into the last season, the new season one. Yeah,
which it's weird that they bring her back because she and Michael C. Hall were married and have divorced since then. So kind of interesting that they brought her back.
I don't know, that do be happening a lot. I have another example right on the tip of my brain, but I can't think of what it is. But that happens often. And I mean, you know, the big one is split ups.
Scream 5 is the big one.
Oh yeah, well, Courtney Cox. That's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Courtney Cox and David Arquette. Yeah, they're not together anymore, but they don't fucking hate each other. Not everybody that breaks up with somebody or divorces someone fucking hates that person. Hi, right here. Like, hi, how's it going? Like, I'm still best pals with my ex-wife. Like, no big whoop. Like,
and I don't hate my ex either, but still, like, you know, it's got to be difficult to work with said person on a daily basis.
It depends on it. I don't know. It depends on the relationship you have with that person post breakup. I do
depends
work
on how
with my ex-wife every day.
contentious.
My ex-wife is my fucking boss, dude.
Right. Yes. This I did know.
Like, whatever, man. Doesn't bother me. I fucking love my job.
Right on. I mean, you do have a pretty sweet gig. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't think that it's easy though, Steve.
No, I don't. I would never.
Remember that time that group of 13-year-olds almost killed me?
Vaguely, yeah. Wait,
yeah,
which
man.
time?
Exactly. Little kids got it out for me, man. Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. Damn wiener kids. But yeah, the Phantom, man. So Tucker, what is your history with the Phantom?
Well, strap in because there's a lot to say. And that is that I have always been interested in this film. Since I first saw the trailer before it came out, I've always just wanted to see this movie so bad because it looked so rad.
Mm-hmm.
But I never watched it. And that's why
when we were discussing, so gung-ho to record this episode.
Dude,
yeah,
that's why every time you're like, what are we gonna watch? Because, you know, something happened and we can't do what we were gonna do. I'm like, fucking Phantom. Make me watch the Phantom. Please make me watch the fucking Phantom.
You've also been really gung-ho on the Shadow, but I need to schedule a guest for the Shadow.
That's another one.
Promise that one to somebody.
There's a lot of movies in that era, a lot of the Pulp movies that came out there. I've never, Steven, don't tell anyone, but I've never seen Dick Tracy either.
Okay, you fucking need to see Dick Tracy.
I'm saying, dude. And these are all movies, all those movies that came out around that time, off the success of Batman, of all the Pulp comic heroes and radio guys and stuff like that. I've always really wanted to see them, but for some reason, I just never fucking did. But it's like I'm way into it. And like I'm way into old timey radio. I listen to old timey radio all the time. Your boy's on Suspense like 24/7. The Whistler, right up my fucking alley. Like even the Jack Benny Show. Like I'm way into all that shit.
Okay, how is Dick Tracy those movies not streaming anywhere? That is a fucking travesty. No, I own Dick Tracy on Blu-ray. It looks absolutely beautiful. If we lived closer, I would absolutely borrow you my copy.
Can I rent it though? I can rent it though.
You can rent it. It's on Amazon Prime and probably Vudu as well. So I know you love your Vudu, so you can absolutely rent it.
I do love my Vudu.
You do love your Vudu. But no, it's fucking incredible. Like I got it on Blu-ray having never seen it. Best $5 I ever spent.
Nice.
And it was a fucking cheap Blu-ray, and like
I'll bet that's due for a 4K probably too, with how colorful that fucking movie is. I was
gonna say the colors and the cinematography on that. If ever there was a movie aching for a 4K release, it is Dick Tracy. And in fact, you know what? If I get the Dick Tracy if there is a Dick Tracy 4K and I buy it, I will just give you my Blu-ray. Like it is.
Will you send that along with my copy of Brick and the Scream 5 that you've been promising me for months?
Yeah,
I have it with all that. Okay,
they're both sitting in there. Here's the thing: I think that Blu-ray is out of print that I got because it was like $5 when I bought it, and now like low end for the multi-format, it's like $40.
Ooh. Hey, unemployment doesn't work out. You know you got something.
Yeah.
So there is no 4K? That's unfortunate.
No 4K yet, sadly. Tragic. Well, but again, and I think the reason there's not, it's a fucking Disney movie. And you know how they are about physical media. They're very like squeamish about releasing any fucking shit. Yeah, I know.
They're about to release like an over 100 disc box set of Blu-rays of all their movies and shit. They're really timid about that shit. I get it.
Yeah,
I read an article today that's happening. Did you? Okay, by the way, Disney's putting out like 100 disc plus collection, allegedly.
You know what they should, because they're like they don't allow repertory screenings of any of their films. Like they're really fucking protective of the brand. Like that's Disney's whole fucking thing. Like they are the Apple of film. Like they're very fucking proprietary and protective of all their shit. And if once it's out of print, fucking good luck. You're never going to find, like, I remember when I used to work.
Nintendo's the same way.
I remember when I used to work at the bookstore, worked at the Barnes and Nobles, and people would call in and be like, hey, can I get the Lion King? And we'd have to be like, I'm sorry, it's in the vault. Like, I can't even order it. Like you'd have to try to find it online. Being released from the
vault this summer. Exactly. Only on Disney DVD.
And they're so fucking, and you've got to get it now before it goes back in the vault forever.
There's no vault. That's bullshit.
It is.
Disney's Frozen head is in the vault. Like
that's what's in the vault. Yes. His cryogenically frozen dead head is what's in that motherfucking vault.
And like a bunch of like racist letters he wrote or something. You know that man was racist as fuck.
Like, his dream project was Song of the South. Of course, I know that man was racist as fuck.
Thank you, Tom Hanks, for giving us a Walt Disney that we can pretend was the real Walt Disney. Thank you.
He gave us the whitewashed Disney-approved version of Disney.
He did, and I know that entire movie is bullshit, but I do love Saving Mr. Banks. I think it's a really good film. I think Tom Hanks is fucking great in it. I think What's Her Nuts is great in it too. That plays P.L. Travers. Fucking Jason Schwartzman.
You do love your boy Jason Schwartzman. He's
cool,
going to be
Ethan himself. Yeah,
he's going to be in the Hunger Games prequel coming out here pretty soon.
Cool. Well, I might watch that though because I did see all those movies. Those movies all came out when Julie and I were together, and we saw those all at the theater because she was way into that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've seen them. They're fine. Josh Hutcherson is something we got out of that. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, that
Big
movie
fan of
came
that
out
boy.
the year after Detention. See our previous episode on
Look at him.
Detention. And seriously, if you've not seen Detention, go watch Detention. That movie is fucking wild as shit.
I make $45,000 a year. You may not have a Skittle.
Which, God, I wish I was making $45,000 a year as a teacher. Good Lord.
Wouldn't that be great? He was an administrator. He's principal, so
No, fair. Touche. I was also teaching in the private sector, and not the good side of the private sector.
No.
So, no. The cheap side of the private sector is where I was teaching. So yeah.
They were like, just pray for more money, Stephen.
Yeah. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Why isn't the Lord givething to you, Stephen?
Because we're takething it away, Stephen.
Because we're not givething it to you. The Lord's givething it to us, and we're stopping it right here.
Yeah, dude.
We're not passing that along. We're not paying those riches forward, Stephen, because that's not a biblical idea. No. The Bible says to hoard wealth. Where does it say that exactly? It's in one of the books you haven't read yet. I've read them all. Probably. Shut up.
Yeah.
No, but no, God, the Phantom though.
Yes, sir.
So this movie started production, like the production on this started. There was supposed to be a 70s version of this movie.
Really?
Yes.
I would have watched that too. That would have been kind of fucking rad, honestly.
And it was guess who it was supposed to star, Tucker? Think
in the 70s version,
he played a big name TV superhero in the previous decade. Maybe the preeminent television superhero in the previous decade.
From the 60s?
From the 60s.
Would have been Batman. Adam West?
Adam West was supposed to play the Phantom.
Batman. Yeah.
And they couldn't secure the rights to the character, and the project fell through.
I would watch the fuck out of that.
That would be really great.
It'd be something, and I'd be there for it.
It is. So they kicked this around for a while in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s. Again, when Batman comes out, a lot of these projects are getting greenlit and fast tracked. At one point, they tapped Joel Schumacher to direct. It should be mentioned the year before Batman Forever comes out. Batman and Robin comes out. Sorry. Which is the movie that literally kills the superhero genre for a couple years before He Who Must Not Be Named's X-Men brings it back. Listen to our Constantine episode. I get into all of this shit. But so this is kind of that weird hint where like superhero movies are just about to die a slow and agonizing death, or I guess a quick agonizing death. Cause yeah, Batman and Robin. Oof. But then he goes on to direct Batman Forever. So he's fine. Don't worry about Joel Schumacher. He's fine. Yeah. He's dead.
And then he made his masterpiece 8mm, which is the movie he made to say, hey, you people think you know who I am because you saw motherfucking Batman and Robin? Watch this shit, idiot.
Joel Schumacher is an interesting filmmaker. Like
I think he's great. I don't like all of his movies, but I think he's fucking great.
He is, I think, the textbook definition of a journeyman filmmaker.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
He is the kind of guy who will just show up and direct. And he's done so many different films and so many different genres. Mm-hmm. Like he is like A Time to Kill, maybe his best movie.
It's up there for sure.
I've not seen 8mm though, but like Time to Kill, I remember being pretty good. I mean, problematic now.
Yes,
but
he
at the
deserved
time,
to die, and I hope he burns in hell. That's from that movie.
I know.
That was by Sam Jackson. Thank you.
I mean, it's not bad. I love Sam Jackson in that movie, and Me too. That. Speaking of a movie with just a top to bottom banger of a cast, Time to Kill.
Matthew McConaughey in that bitch.
Sandy Bullock,
like good young McConaughey, like when he's really firing on all cylinders, man.
The piece of human excrement that is Kevin Spacey. Fucking Kiefer Sutherland playing a piece of human excrement. And doing it really fucking well. Like
he does that pretty well.
Donnie Sutherland shows up for a scene. Like his dad's in there for a scene. Like it's fucking wild. That movie's wild as hell. And so Schumacher, they considered Raimi at one point, who I think would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been good. It would have been different, but yeah, it would have been good.
It would have been very different. They finally settle in the late 80s, early 90s. They settle on one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, my boy Joe Dante.
Which, as much as I love Joe Dante, I don't know, man. I really don't know.
I think if he'd have gotten to make the movie he wanted to make, it could have
Mm-hmm.
been really cool. The studio really balked because he had a demon in the final. There was a winged demon in the final act. Like Phantom fights a demon, and I don't think they liked that.
Yeah, I think they wanted to keep it kind of grounded,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. So Jeffrey,
Tracks, though.
the
I
script
agree with
though
that.
that he has is the Jeffrey Boehm script. The script that Jeffrey Boehm wrote is the script that they used. But when Joe Dante and Jeffrey Boehm were working on the script, according to Dante, it was written as a parody movie. It was written as a spoof. It was not supposed to be taken seriously. The whole thing was very tongue in cheek. So when Dante goes to see the movie, when it comes out, he realizes as he starts watching the movie, A, they're using the exact same script, but B, they're playing it all completely earnestly and very straight. And his exact thought was something along the lines of, oh no.
I don't know. I disagree, though. I think that's what makes it so good. I think great comedy, which I think this movie has a lot of, comes from playing ridiculous situations and saying silly dialogue with complete conviction. Like if you've seen the Starsky and Hutch remake with
I
Owen
have.
Wilson and Ben Stiller,
Future
that's
episode of this
why
podcast, yes.
I fucking love that movie, and that's why that movie works. Is because they're not we're silly boys. It's the 70s.
But
The writing is,
yeah,
but they're playing it completely fucking straight. And for me, that's one of the reasons the Phantom works. And though I love our boy Joe Dante, I will say I must disagree with him. And I understand why he would feel that way because they wrote it a certain way, and that's not how it played out. But I think it still worked out in their favor. It just got there in a different way. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I liked this movie more this time I watched it than the last time I watched it. And again, I think it's a Green Hornet problem in that when everything superhero related is so samey, anything that looks remotely different feels like a breath of fresh air. And this definitely hit those marks for me. Like I was getting some very solid Rocketeer vibes off of this. You mentioned earlier that Rocketeer would make a great double feature. I agree. Like yes. Treat Williams and Timothy Dalton are basically playing different versions of the same character.
Now, Treat Williams' version of Xander Drax would have been right at home in Joe Dante's version too, I feel like.
That's my big takeaway is there's one person who feels dialed into what this movie was supposed to be, and that is Treat Williams. Like Treat Williams is playing this like he's going it feels like, and I don't know if this is accurate, but it feels like he got cast for the Joe Dante version and like had conversations with Dante and knew what it was supposed to be, and then when they handed it over to a different director and like they changed the entire tone of the thing, like they're like, okay, Joe or Treat, we want you to play. Like he's like, no, I know what I'm doing. It's like, no, but Treat, we want you, no, I know what I'm doing. And he plays it like he feels like when I was a kid, I remember not liking him because he was so over the top. And now I fucking love him because he is so over the top. Like, I'm just like, you are so perfectly pitched for what this movie desperately wants to be. And I fucking love you for it, Treat Williams. We should mention, of course, tragically, Treat Williams died earlier this year. We actually
like a couple months ago, man.
We had a full-on conversation in the text thread about like rushing, like moving something around. I think we were in the middle of a theme month is the only reason we didn't. Like June 12th, he died June 12th. Like we talked about doing the last movie in the Substitute franchise as a unenfranchised, like as a way of honoring Treat Williams. We couldn't figure out a way to make it work.
It would have been nice to do Deep Rising.
Deep Rising's on the list, man. It's on the list.
That would have been that is my Treat Williams movie.
Now, see, this is my first exposure to Treat Williams. I had no idea who the fuck this guy was. Yeah, this movie introduced me.
He's everywhere, dude. Speaking of character actors,
I know. Look, dude,
Treat Williams, dude.
In 1996, I was not the young movie fan I am today.
Wake up, Steven.
Someone needed to say that to me in 1996. But again, growing up in a conservative household in the 90s, didn't get a chance to see a lot of movies. So that'll do it. But like this movie comes out a couple years even before Deep Rising. Deep Rising's 98. So like this is the first movie I'd seen. This is the first movie that I saw Billy Zane in. I think it might have been the first movie I saw Christy Swanson in too. James
Twin
Remar.
Peaks is Billy Zane.
Yeah, hadn't watched Twin Peaks at that point. First movie that I saw Catherine Zeta-Jones in. Probably the first movie I saw Hiroyuki Tagawa in. Also, like this is just
Shang Tsung.
Yeah, this was my first exposure to pretty much every actor in this movie, all of whom I now know from other things. But like, I don't know, Treat Williams, I will always remember this performance because this performance is so full ham. He's going maximum camp with this, and I think it is brilliant. Like his performance in this is so fucking good. Like he is absolutely hamming it up. Every time he gets very excited, like I remember it makes me laugh every fucking time. I laugh out loud every fucking time when he's in the museum and all the stained glass windows are blowing up and he's like, this is awesome, this is great, I love this, and he like turns his head in anticipation, like he's got this like goofy look on his face. He turns his head and then these windows shatter and he goes, excellent, like wonderful, or something like that. And I fucking killed the look on his face right before those windows shatter. Fucking kills me every fucking time. I love
that
it.
Mustache does so a lot of heavy lifting too.
He is so.
That is a great mustache.
He is the Howard Hughes.
I would say he looks like Howard Hughes.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was intentional. But I also had the thought that
if Howard Hughes said so, because the Rocketeer Howard Hughes was in there.
Yeah. He is like, if they had made Iron Man in the 80s,
oh yeah,
Treat Williams would have been a fucking amazing Iron Man. Amazing Iron Man. Like we do all those, like if the Avengers had existed in the 90s, it'd be these actors. And I'm like, okay, Tom Cruise Iron Man, but like Treat Williams Iron Man, it would have fucking worked. And his audition is this fucking movie.
Absolutely.
If not him, then Timothy Dalton. See also Rocketeer, like his Neville Sinclair.
Yeah,
fucking amazing. Like, and I know he's playing like an Errol Flynn kind of character there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But which we talked about in our Rocketeer episode that we recorded like years ago. At this point, that was our first episode of our first non-Spooky-thon theme month. We did Disney Plus December. Our first year, and we covered the Rocketeer, basically just a bunch of movies we saw and we had on Disney Plus.
They need also Alan Arkin in the Rocketeer, future November Tukey takeover episode of Disenfranchised, Return of Captain Invincible's Alan Arkin as Peabody. That needs a 4K. That needs a fucking 4K, dude.
Tell Disney. Disney's never gonna fucking do it. You're texting
Disney. Yeah, can we get a 4K Rocketeer? Yeah, again, is this the third time today? Yeah, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, bye.
There you go. That's my friend Dave.
No, you need to call your buddy Bobby Iger. Bobby I.
Oh, hey, no, Bobby. I don't like that guy. I'll let other people talk to him.
Bobby. Yeah, no, Bob Iger sucks. So does his buddies Dave Zaslav over at Warner Brothers. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck all those studio heads, honestly. Pay your fucking writers and actors what they're worth.
And do it right now.
Please. Look, there's so much media that I can consume in the meantime. Like, I'm not hurting for media.
Yeah, dude.
I got so many movies on my shelf that I've purchased that I've not bought.
Another place where creators are exploited. YouTube. I got that all day. Yeah, love it. Straight up love it.
Look, if you're creating content for the internet, you're probably being exploited.
Yeah, man. I spend about 25 hours on this motherfucker every week. Yeah. So I know what that's like. I know. So about the plot of The Phantom.
Yes, let's talk about the plot of The Phantom. And to do that, it's time for the plot in 60 seconds. For those of you who are new, this is the part of the show where we recount the plot of 1996's The Phantom in 60 seconds or less. And to decide which of us will be doing that, we will be flipping the Canadian quarter of indifference, which we will decide If it lands on heads or tails, I will call it in the air as Tucker flips it, and it will decide which of us will be recounting the plot of The Phantom in 60 seconds or less. Tucker, give it a flip.
Here it goes. Call it in the air. Steven, 1, 2, 3, go.
Tails.
It is heads.
Son of a bitch.
This isn't a hard one, Steven.
No, it's fucking not. Look, there's a lot of things that happen in this movie, but it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I gotta put time on a thing.
Yeah, you gotta put 60 seconds on the clock, so I know what I'm doing, man.
I'm still new at this. I've only been a host for 9 months. I'm still new at this.
You're still learning the ropes, man. I didn't even know how heads and tails worked in those early episodes. So
I'm just a baby. Anyway, okay, you ready to go? Time starts when you talk.
Kit Walker is the Phantom. He is like the 21st Phantom, and it's lineage passed on from father to son. When the previous Phantom dies, the next one takes his place. And so he is the Phantom. He tries to stop these dudes in the Bengala jungle from stealing this silver skull. He doesn't. But a girl he knew in college like comes and visits, and he's like, hey, she's hot, I remember her. And so he goes to New York to like track her down, but also to track down like the other skulls. He talks to her uncle and finds where the next skull is, and it's in the museum. But there's this millionaire dude, Xander Drax, who's actually behind the dudes trying to get it. The bad guy's actually working with this like ancient Chinese brotherhood called the Seng Brotherhood that's evil and wants to rule the world, but he also wants to rule the world. Anyway, there's a lot of fighting. They go to this island called the Devil's Vortex, and in the Devil's Vortex they get like there's this like mysterious island. They run into the pirates of the Seng Brotherhood, and he finds the 3 skulls, but there's a 4th skull that they learn about in like the last act of the movie, and it turns out that the 4th skull is the fucking ring that the Phantom wears.
I never gave you 30 and 10 because
did. Damn you.
Continue. Finish up what you're saying. I'll tell you why I didn't.
Because you were clearly distracted. You were like looking off to the side the whole fucking time.
Yeah. So the 4th skull.
The 4th skull is actually his ring, and he uses it to blow up Xander Drax, who's the millionaire dude, and then he marries Christy Swanson at the end.
Good job, Steven. Sorry about that. I just saw a big ass camper go by my window, which means somebody's trying to check in here in the middle of a foggy rainstorm at 11:30 at night. And our camp hosts don't stay on past 10:30 on weekdays, and Sunday counts as a weekday.
Well, sorry about those guys.
Nah, they'll be all right. They'll figure it out. There's a whole process. It's really easy, but everybody can't seem to figure it out. That's why I always help them. But you give them about 10, 15 minutes of like, and then they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they just need the monolith to come down and help them figure it out. Turn those apes into violent men.
I was just saying, if my phone rings in the next couple minutes, like that's because the phones go to me all night.
Oh
so if there's an emergency on the campground, it's my ass. You're waking up.
I'll remember that.
Yeah, dude. I'll give you the number. You can call me at like. Well, you could just call my number.
I was gonna say, I have your phone number. I text you frequently.
You could totally prank call me as like a camper. You'd be like, "Whoa, my cable TV went out. I need to come up to check it out for me.
I'm here on campsite 12. I need you to come get me."
I go, there's a bee. Like, man, it's nature. Welcome to fucking nature, dude. Like, come on.
There's wasps all over them there hills.
I don't know how to back my trailer into this spot. Well, maybe you shouldn't have fucking bought a trailer, Maybe stay at a hotel. Like, go fuck yourself, maybe. I don't know.
I bet your customer service is outstanding.
It really is, though. Like, it really, really is. Like, it's one of my strong points. I didn't know if after the pandemic that I would be ready for a job like this, dealing with the public.
Sure.
But I handle it masterfully.
God, I have not really had to deal with the general populace since the pandemic, and I'm so happy, so grateful for that. I hope I don't have to do that anymore.
Sometimes it's fun. A good 90% of the people who come and camp here are nice, sweet, wholesome people that are fun to talk to and just a joy to, be around. Then you got got every once in a while, you got a couple assholes, man.
I was gonna say, tragically, it's the assholes you tend to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like, I remember very few of the cool people that I knew when I worked retail, but I can tell you some stories about the assholes, buddy.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I like my job, and it is customer service more so than I ever really wanted it to be. But I found that I do still, despite my disdain for the general public. There it is. There it is, coming from West Virginia. Hold up. Get this on film, Steven.
I mean, we're not
AOA
filming,
Night
yeah.
Security. This is Jay. What can I do for you? Oh yeah. You know what? Go ahead. That is peculiar. Okay. Give me. Okie doke. Give me just a second to put some shoes on, and I'll meet you on the porch of the office. Okay. No problem. Bye. Oh, maybe go fuck yourself, right?
Have fun, buddy.
Yeah, I gotta put some shoes on. I'll be right back, hopefully.
Yeah, no, have fun, buddy.
5 minutes later.
Hey, I'm back, and I found another beer. I found a neglected beer from our break between our 2 episodes that we record.
Good for you, dude. I am almost done with like my 6th beer of the night. So I am in a really fucking great place right now. Just like I am and between that and my vape that I've been hitting periodically throughout this episode, I'm just having a great fucking time right now. Like I am just like I am like all out, just buzzing in my brain. It's great.
That's wonderful. I just checked in some lovely people. So I went down there and their check-in packet, because we have after hours check-in where you go and you get your packet out of a little box that's on the porch. It's all very easy. It has everything you need, and you just fill out the paperwork, bring it to the office in the morning. It has your gate key. It has a map to your site.
Monolith.
It just wasn't there because my office staff has once again failed me. And I don't blame them, though, because these people made this reservation today, and same-day reservations sometimes slip under the radar.
That does it, yeah.
So I had to...
We never did that when I worked in travel. We never did same-day reservations, like ever.
I had to go into the system and find their reservation and put them together a packet and everything. And they had a cute, sweet little puppy, and I got to scratch the cute, sweet little puppy, and that was nice. And then
that's always a good thing. And any interaction you get to have with a puppy is a good interaction.
So many dogs here, dude. That's the best part of my job.
I believe it. I have no problem believing that, actually.
Every time I deliver wood and there's a dog, I'm like, yo, let me pet your dog.
Is that what the kids are calling it these days? Delivering wood?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Hey, man, no. Like, firewood, man. Come on. Come on, man. So, yeah. So that was the plot of The Phantom.
More or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got it. We did it. Fuck The Phantom, man. Like,
yeah, dude. Remember The Phantom? Das Phantom?
I do. I just fucking watched it tonight. And for the first time, I gotta say, this is probably the first time I watched it since the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. Like, maybe since high school. This is the first time I watched this movie since high school. Like, and it felt good. It felt kind of nostalgic. Something that occurred to me, and I feel like the script is a big part of why it didn't do what this other movie I'm about to mention did. But this movie shares a lot of the same basic DNA with the 1999 Brendan Fraser film The Mummy,
which I don't really care about. I've seen the first 2 and they're great.
They are.
But
they're great. And that's what I'm saying.
It never really hit with me. You know, like I recognize that they're good movies, but everybody has such a big nostalgia boner for them, and I'm like, yeah, they were good.
I mean, cool. And that's kind of where I land. Like, I think they're really great films.
Absolutely.
Like the first one in particular is a great film. Mm-hmm. I have my nostalgia goggles are on for the second one. The second one is not as good. The thing I love the most, and this is so future guest of the podcast, Dan Allmiller, one of my very good friends from college. he and I had a running joke when we were when we were freshmen and we watched The Mummy Returns. We had this running gag where we wrote an entire movie script, and it was ridiculous. Like, it was basically the Joe Dante version of this movie. Completely ridiculous, about the pygmy mummies from that movie, like the little pygmies.
Yeah.
We thought those were the greatest characters in cinematic history during our freshman year of college. And we had just like, Tom Jones was in the movie. Like, we just went into like our deep recesses of Sam Neill, I think, was in our movie. Like, we had just everything that we loved as freshmen, we put into that movie, and we thought it was the funniest fucking thing. And people would ask us about it. Like, people would be like, hey, what's new with the Pygmy Mummies? And we would just make shit up on the spot because we weren't actually writing this thing, but we loved for people to think that we were. So we just like riff. And we had this like whole elaborate plot that was basically Mars Attacks, but with Pygmy mummies.
Well, you get Tom Jones in there, fresh off of Mars Attacks. You know, you gotta draw some lines.
Absolutely, like it
connecting.
It was one of two things that we were known for our freshman year. The other was singing Elvis Presley's "In the Ghetto." People would just ask us randomly to sing "In the Ghetto," and we would.
It's fun to sing.
It is a great fucking song. I fucking love it. It's wonderful. But yeah, those were the two things we were known for as freshmen in college. We later became known for other things. I swear the one thing that people know me from most when I was in college, and the thing that when people haven't seen me in a number of years from college, they'll bring up, is my sophomore year. Every year we would do a thing called Broadway Review at the beginning of the school year. The intramural theater group on campus would put it on, and it was called Broadway Review. And my sophomore year it was my junior year. I did Mr. Cellophane from Chicago.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that more people know me from than anything I've ever done since. I think more people know me as Mr. Cellophane than know me as the host of the Disenfranchised podcast.
Well, I'll bet you murdered it, man. You probably murdered it.
I did pretty good. I wish someone had the video out there somewhere. I would put it on YouTube and I would show people. Actually,
I'd watch that.
My partner's parents have that VHS tape. Have it. I would just need to find a way to convert it to digital and put it on the internet. You could
send it to me.
I'd have to get them to part with it, and I don't know that they would.
I would never do anything to destroy it. And
I know you wouldn't.
Hey, when it's all over, who cares what happens to the tape? It's on the internet forever.
But yeah, that was I remember my late friend Annika's stepmother at her funeral called me Mr. Cellophane. Like, it's the thing that I'm known for. But then last year I had a really rough year and I couldn't sing that song anymore. Like, one day, to punish myself, I listened to like 10 different versions of that song, and I was just a blubbering mess at the end of it. So I can't really engage with that song the same way I used to. So it's kind of a poison chalice now that I'm known as Mr. Cellophane.
That's anyway. All right. Hey man, things change though, man. Like, for instance, up until a couple weeks ago, and I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when it happened, for years, my bad luck song was Mr. Jones by the Counting Crows.
A song I fucking love and have loved for decades.
I love that song too. That whole record is fucking phenomenal.
Oh
dude.
God, it's so good.
I love that record, dude.
It's so good.
Like Omaha, dude, somewhere in Middle
America. Yeah.
Fucking so many good shits on that.
Right to the heart of matters. It's the heart that matters more.
It's the heart that matters more.
So good.
That's my Adam Duritz. I hope you enjoyed it.
It's so good. It's almost as good as Omaha.
Oh, thank you. But it was my bad luck song for a long time. Bad things would happen every time it came on. And a couple weeks ago at karaoke, I said, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to sing that song and break the curse. And it was funny because I did it. Like, I texted my roommate, aka my ex-wife, aka my boss. And I said I'm about to do something dangerous. And she was like, no. And I was like, I'm gonna sing Mr. Jones, man. I'm breaking this curse once and for all. And she's like, no, don't do it. and so I did it. And I texted her back and I was like, the curse is lifted. And she didn't text me back. And I was like, assuming you're still alive, the curse is lifted. Like,
that's always the worst, is when you text someone something and they just don't reply for a while and you're like, oh fuck, what did I do?
Assuming everything's fine at the house, the curse is lifted. Because I thought the pavilion was going to come down or something.
Right. You know? Just given your luck. Yeah, it probably would.
Yeah, dude. The things that have happened while that song was playing, you know what? It's come on the radio at the pool a few times since then.
Mm-hmm.
Not phased. Your boy don't care. Your boy's like, yeah, let's. Yeah, I'm way into that. And now I can buy it on vinyl because I never bought August and Everything After on vinyl, even though I wanted to, because I knew I wouldn't be able to skip Mr. Jones because I don't have a linear tracking turntable.
You know what? I bet if you had bought it, that would have probably broken the curse early.
No, dude, I had to sing it. I had to get out there and sing it.
I actually,
even though I have avoided it for so many years, I didn't even have to look at the screen, dude. I knew every fucking word.
That is a song that early in our relationship, my partner would ask me to occasionally sing to her, and that was one of my go-tos, because that's just a song that those lyrics are like burned into my brain.
So if you're ever down at the New Amsterdam,
stand at this yellow-haired girl,
etc., and so on.
Fuck, I love Mr. Jones. Yes, absolutely.
August and Everything After is the bop, dude.
There is no greater Counting Crows album than August and Everything After.
Yeah, I know, because I bought their second album and I was very disappointed.
Yeah, they never got back to those heights.
The song that is on their second record that I do listen to a lot, I listen to it every year actually. Just After Midnight, I listen to A Long December. Yeah.
There is reason to believe that maybe this year will be better than the last.
Straight up, maybe. You don't know, dude.
I'm honestly,
smell the hospitals in winter.
Look, man, that was my anthem coming into 2023, and of course, you know, after this weekend,
every year, dude.
After this past weekend, I'm like, well, God, it can't be worse. No year could be worse than last year. But this
you say that, but who knows? We sure as hell hope not. But I'm just saying,
my father's going into surgery tomorrow, so fingers crossed.
Okay, yeah, dude, I'll have my fingers crossed for him for sure.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Sending good vibes.
I need them all.
I'll be vibrating over here just for you. Just like that.
Right on. The Phantom, though.
The
Phantom. But no, I was so fucking all in on this movie in the late 90s, dude. Like this shit was my jam, and I watched this movie way more than The Shadow, a movie I have definitely seen, but could not tell you very much about. I can tell you that Alec Baldwin and Ian McKellen are in it. That's about it.
I can't wait to see that motherfucker, man.
We're gonna have a guest, a favorite guest of ours. We're gonna have on. I told you in the chat who it was.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a good one. That'll be a
fast track on that. Can we do that like January, February or something? You figure it out. I believe in you.
We have to get that guest on for another episode first before we do The Shadow. Because this one has been promised. It was supposed to be put on last December, but I was in the hospital in October and that didn't happen.
That's something that happened.
It sure is. So yeah, there's a reason we haven't had a lot of guests this year, is because I haven't done a good job of rescheduling them all. But
you've had your hands full.
It's been a rough year.
It's true.
And you know who else has his hands full is the Phantom in this movie.
Yeah,
fuck dude. Yeah. No, Billy Zane. This is my first exposure to Billy Zane. This is the year before Titanic. So like Billy Zane, this is Billy Zane ascendant. He has done Dead Calm. He has done Twin Peaks at this point. You and I are both huge Twin Peaks fans, as is Brett. We are Twin Peaks stans on this podcast for shiz,
as the kids say. Yes.
But like he is Oh God, I'm looking at his filmography right now, and he has done shit I did not even realize he did.
Yeah, dude, he's all over the fucking place.
He is all over the fucking place. So I should mention mid '80s. He and co-star in this film, Casey Siamasco, play two of Biff Tannen's goons in the Back to the Future series.
Mm-hmm.
He's in fucking Critters in '86. He does a lot of TV. Dead Calm is his big break in 1989, the Australian film with Nicole Kidman and Sam Neill, directed by Philip Noyce, the man who gave us the last two Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan movies.
Yo, Billy Zane's in Back to the Future 2. He's the one that says, "How the hell does he change clothes so fast?"
Yes.
That's Billy Zane. Yeah.
That is Billy Zane. Yeah.
For reference, for anyone who doesn't realize who he is in those films. That's his like one line in all of those movies.
He is John Justice Wheeler in Twin Peaks in '91, does a few episodes of that. And he just kind of kicks around. He's in the John Singleton movie Poetic Justice in '93. Mm-hmm. He's in fucking Tombstone, that fucking masterpiece.
Yes, dude.
With Kurt Russell, all hell's coming with him. In '95, he does Tales from the Crypt. Demon Knight.
He's so great in that movie. I love him in that movie. I feel like this is what got him the role of the Phantom.
I've not seen any Tales from the Crypt.
It's fun. Billy Sadler's in that movie, dude.
It's damn near impossible to find a lot of Tales from the Crypt these days, but I've never even...
Really? Is it? I disagree.
But... Well, no, the series is what I'm saying. Like the series is damn near impossible to find legally.
How is it not on HBO Max? How is it not on HBO Max?
It's fucking rights issues, dude. That thing is all tangled up. But then he gets...
Dick Miller is in Demon Knight, dude.
So here's the thing.
Charles Fleischer is in Demon Knight, dude.
I was looking at this movie as a Joe Dante property. I'm like, where do the Dante regulars fit into this movie?
I'm pretty sure he was a producer on Demon Knight. Sorry, go ahead.
Robert Picardo is clearly the librarian who comes in and gets his eyes gouged out with the razors.
Yeah,
that's Robert Picardo, 100%. Dick Miller is the cabbie. Like Dick Miller is 100% the cabbie. Al the cab driver. I'm glad
they went with who they went with, though.
No, I do. I love the cab driver, but I think Dick Miller would have fucking knocked that out of the park.
Oh yeah, absolutely, agreed.
And I think Kevin McCarthy, if he's not Xander Drax, and I don't think he is, I think he's the police commissioner. Like that just strikes me as the role they would cast. That he would cast Kevin McCarthy in. Like,
I can see that, yeah.
Those are the Dante regulars and where they fit in this movie. Now, if he wants to cast, some other people that he works with, fairly regularly, I'm sure they could fit into other roles. But like those are and of course, I think Bruce Campbell fits in, who was considered for the role of the Phantom. I think he fits in perfectly into a Joe Dante directed version or a Sam Raimi directed version, for that matter, of the Phantom. 100%.
If I may mention one of the many roles that Bruce Campbell lost to Billy Zane.
Mention as many of them as you want, because I kind of want to hear all of them. I want this to be a sidebar. I love this.
Well, you have to read If Chins Could Kill. Because Bruce Campbell talks about a lot of that in that book.
Bruce Campbell's literary agent at that time. Do you know who his literary agent was?
Why the fuck I'm supposed to know? Who was it?
John Hodgman. Do you seriously not know who John Hodgman was? Do you remember the I'm a Mac and I'm a PC commercials with Justin Long and that other nerdy guy?
Yeah.
John Hodgman is the nerdy guy.
Oh yeah, that guy. Cool.
He's like a character actor who just like appears in like TV shows and animation and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he started as Bruce Campbell's literary agent, and he was the literary agent at the time of If Chins Could Talk.
Good for him, because that went on the New York Times bestseller list,
as it should have.
Chins Could Talk. After that, he wrote a fiction novel called Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way, but it was based on many of his experiences in Hollywood. So a lot of stories are based on things that actually happened to him. He just kind of wraps it in a narrative that is fiction.
Sure.
I'm sort of squishing all of these stories together in a fictional narrative. And then his third book was a sequel to If Chins Could Kill, called another autobiography, just basically what's been happening since If Chins Could Kill. And I think it's called
If Chins
Hail.
Could Kill or If Chins Could Talk?
You know, I don't know. Maybe let's look that up.
Okay.
Or I could just look on my bookshelf, but it's so far away.
Googling in real time.
That's how we do things, man.
It looks like it is If Chins Could Kill.
Haha, I win.
You are right.
The third one I think is called Hail to the Chin. I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right.
But that's actually Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way is how I excuse me. Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way has an audio book, and it's like a radio play. So there's different voices for the different characters and stuff. And Danny Hicks from Evil Dead 2, you know, Bobby Joe, Danny Hicks.
Yep.
He does some voice work in the audiobook of Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way, and it is fucking phenomenal. And when I was outside smoking a cigarette at Days of the Dead, I saw Danny Hicks out there, and I was like, hey, man, your fucking voice work and Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way was the shit. And he was like, you're the first person who's ever complimented me on that vocal performance. And then we became best friends. And we hung out all night.
Get him on the fucking podcast, dude.
Steven, he's dead.
Oh. Now I feel like an asshole.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
More so than usual.
We'll cut that out. Yeah, dude. No, dude was a treasure. He was just a sweet old man. When I met him, his wife of many years had died probably about 6 months before that. And so he was really kind of finding what his life was like after the death of his longtime partner.
Sure. Through
like going to conventions. And he was really that was kind of keeping him going and stuff. And so we hung out that night and we became pals, and we used to text and stuff sometimes when Sam Raimi was making Oz the Great and Powerful. He filmed a cameo for that was eventually cut, and he sent me a
previous episode of that podcast.
He sent me a photo of him in costume and makeup, like ready to go.
Oh, rad.
It was fucking fabulous. I was really sad that he didn't get to be in the movie, but yeah, I was really sad when he died. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. God, that's a tragedy.
Yeah, he was a really cool guy, but I
didn't know that he had passed. That's tragic.
That's how I got to meet him, and I'm not sure how we got on the sidebar. Oh yeah, because Billy Zane and Bruce Campbell.
Yes.
So yes, read If Chins Could Kill. Bruce Campbell goes into great detail about how him and Billy Zane, though they do not dislike each other. They were rivals, going after a lot of the same roles at the same time. And Billy Zane seems to be he was just this much, people liked him this much better than Bruce Campbell.
Right.
So Bruce Campbell kind of says that's sort of the reason why he never broke out into big movies, is because Billy Zane fucking exists.
Yeah. I mean, look, and you hear stories like that all the time. Like, I listen to the Blank Check podcast with some regularity, and Griffin Newman on that podcast is an actor. And he talks about, like, there was a time in his career when everything he went out for, either Anton Yelchin or Miles Teller were getting those roles. Oh, yeah. Like, everything he went out for, like, those two guys were getting it. So, like, he's just like, well, fuck, why am I even doing this? I mean, he got plenty of roles. He was in, like, Beware the Gonzo and Butt Whistle and stuff like that. But, like,
Butt Whistle.
Apparently not the original title of that film. He's like, no, we didn't all sign on for a film called Butt Whistle. Draft Day, the Kevin Costner film Draft Day. But he's done some stuff, but like
Butt Whistle.
Yeah, there's a movie called Butt Whistle.
That's great. I like that. Like,
he said on the movie Draft Day, he looked at he looked and he realized that was the only time he would ever be above Chadwick Boseman on a call sheet. And yeah, true. Accurate.
Sorry, I was drinking.
No,
I would
do
have
that.
laughed. Ha 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 ha. That was my response to what you said.
But yeah, no, I mean, so give me one of the roles that Bruce Campbell lost, or that Bruce Campbell lost to Billy Zane, other than the Phantom.
The Phantom.
Other than the Phantom.
Man, I don't know, man. I'd have to look it up in real time, man. I just remember the book, how he was talking about that, man. I don't have any examples. If you wanted me to research this, you should have said something before, Steven. It's too late in the game.
What do you think we do here, Tucker?
I'm trying to advertise. I'm trying to get people onto that Bruce Campbell book, man, because it was really popular at the time. I'm telling you, if you're into Bruce Campbell, read that fucking book, because not only is he rad as fuck, but he's really good at writing autobiographies.
Right. I think I owned that at one point. I think I found it at like a dollar store and bought it. I don't think I have it anymore. I think that was lost in one of my purges, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. There it is. You got it. Autographed with a giant B. Hey, Tucker. B.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
What a cool guy. I would love to meet Bruce Campbell. He's one of like 10 celebrities I would love to grab a beer with sometime.
He's a fun guy. Yeah, he's a really fun guy. Is one of the only times I was ever struck though, so I didn't really have any kind of interesting interaction with him because I was just frozen. This is fucking Bruce Campbell. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I've met and this was before I was doing the Horror Hound and like Days of the Dead circuits and stuff. So I wasn't used to being around celebrities.
Like you are now.
Yeah, like I am now. It's just another like Thursday for me at this point.
Ah, how droll. How delightfully droll.
Yes, very humorous, very droll.
But no, I think Bruce Campbell would have fit very well as the Phantom in a Joe Dante directed version of that film. And I think he would have fit the tone that they were going for. Because I said this on the Pod and the Pendulum episode on Army of Darkness that I did years ago at this point. But Bruce Campbell strikes this. He's got the leading man good looks, but he's got a sense of humor. And really the only actor at the time doing that to that degree was Harrison Ford. So like Bruce Campbell probably could have occupied that space, but for Billy Zane.
Had Billy Zane not existed.
Had Billy Zane not been a thing. And this movie is probably the origin of Billy Zane shaving his head because he had to shave his head, or he chose to shave his head in order to get the cowl, the Phantom's cowl on as tightly to his head as possible. So they filmed the scene where he removes it in two parts backwards. They had to front load everything where he's got hair, and then he shaved his head. And so everything in the costume was done later. But then after that, pretty much every time you see Billy Zane after like Titanic, he's got his head shaved. So he must have really dug that look, which I don't blame him because it's a good look.
He likes that breeze. He likes that breeze, man.
As someone who used to shave his head for years, it's fun, man. It's a good look, and it's so low maintenance. Like it's once you do it, you're in. Like it's so good. But yeah, Billy fucking Zane, man. I love that guy. Like I saw Titanic for the first time during lockdown. God, that's a fucking good movie. You know who's really good in that movie?
Who?
Billy fucking Zane.
Yeah, he sure is.
He is the most contemptible piece of shit in that movie, and he's perfect at it. Like he's so good. I love Billy Zane. I think he's really great in this movie. And I wish we'd gotten more entries in the Phantom franchise so that we could have gotten more Billy Zane superhero antics, man.
And you know what would be cool is this is a franchise that they could just keep doing because of the simple premise of it, man. It's generational. Once Billy Zane gets too old, what do? I don't know. Who's his fucking son? Let's find out.
Exactly.
Next franchise.
I mean, it's easy enough, but the problem is this, and this was originally intended as a trilogy, just to kind of tie it back to the premise of the show. This was originally intended as a trilogy, but because this movie bombed so hard at the box office, they just didn't do it.
Unbelievably hard. It made like $17 million. Jeez. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, they set it up in the film. Like they set it up for the sequel, like when she flies away and Patrick McGowan comes on to do the voiceover and is like, yeah, leave it to my son to let a good thing slip away. But fortunately she had her own mind and she was back soon. And you're just like, okay, that's the next movie. But there was no next movie. Like it just didn't happen. It is a bummer. I think the biggest bummer is that knowing that you don't have Treat Williams, like Treat Williams blows up at the end of this movie. You don't have him to go to for your villain, which is a big old fucking bummer.
Agreed.
Like
agreed. This movie did okay on video though, honestly. Which is why I'm surprised they didn't go ahead and do something. That's why I'm surprised that like with all the nostalgia bait that we have now, that we haven't at least seen something trying to sequelize or reboot this,
This movie does not have the like love that movies like The Rocketeer or even like the Brendan Fraser Mummy have. Like there's just not the outpouring of love for this movie. I don't know if it's the fact that Christy Swanson is now just a like fucking diehard Trumper, or which is why I'm kind of bummed to cover Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because when we have to contend with her and Joss fucking Whedon, no thank you.
But you got Luke Perry though,
and Paul Rubens, the late great Paul Rubens,
and like, fucking not Malcolm McDowell. Who the fuck am I thinking of?
Rutger Hauer.
There you go.
Or Donald Sutherland, one of those two.
Yeah, there you go. Both of them actually.
Thank you. They're both in that movie.
I like that movie. I really do. Good. I can't wait to cover it. Honestly, I think it's fun. It's a fun
on the
time.
List. We'll have to do that a week when Brett's not joining us, because I don't think Brett's really keen to cover that one. But
because he's a fan of the series.
Well, and it's also kind of like just Joss Whedon. No, thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the TV series either. Let's just talk about the movie.
Yeah, Joss Whedon's a piece of human garbage. But no, like this movie feels more influential than it probably is. But like the scene at the end with the Seng Brotherhood and the final battle feels very Pirates of the Caribbean, just on a soundstage to me. Like, and that scene is clearly shot on a soundstage. Like they're not even trying to hide it.
Yo, and I don't even give a fuck. Give me matte paintings and sound stages, as long as you're giving me practical effects all day. And that's all this movie is. All of the action scenes are fucking amazing because you can see that it's real.
Yes.
I don't care if I can sometimes see that the stuntman is not exactly who they're portraying. It's being done.
The most egregious example of that,
fucking amazing.
The most egregious example of that is the scene with the plane, when he's jumped onto the horse and she's like still on hanging from the pontoon, like coming up, and they do like a wide shot of like him on the horse riding toward the camera and her behind him, and she, like, the hair is not even the same. Like the stunt woman has her hair like pulled back into a ponytail and is like hanging off, and is clearly not Christy Swanson. And that was something I noticed like the first time I saw it, and I cannot unsee it every time. Like I don't
even care, dude. 100%. I'm just happy that they did it. That they fucking did that shit, dude.
And that's just it, man. Like shit like that doesn't. And yes, there are stunt performers. They do great work, and they should get compensated. There should be Oscars for stunts and stunt performances.
There should have always been, since at least the 50s or 60s. There should have been Oscars for stunt performing.
Absolutely.
I love that long shot of the truck falling down into that canyon.
Very Sorcerer Wages of Death vibes the entire time that truck is like crossing that bridge.
10 seconds, it falls. We get a reaction shot. It's still falling and falling and falling. But dude, just to reinforce how fucking far from that bridge it is to the bottom of that canyon. And it's beautiful. I love that kind of shit, man. Like that old school practical kind of blowing up cars and fucking rigging up bridges to spin and shit. The kind of shit that they really kind of tried to show off in the backlot tour at Universal,
right?
And the Confrontation in Universal and Earthquake at Universal, where they kind of tried to show you like, we're gonna bring you in this room and show you like how we do these effects. And it's just fucking fascinating, and it looks great, and CG is wonderful. when used like sparingly and when it looks good. But there's nothing better than a fucking practical effect, dude. Nothing
Agreed.
better, because you can see that it's real.
And we've always been big practical effects people on this podcast. Like Brett and I both love practical effects. Like we'll cheer them every time we fucking see them. Like we love practical effects because again, there's something kind of magical about a practical effect.
Even
like
if they're not great. Even if they're not
Exactly.
great, you know, at least they're there. It's in camera and you're seeing it. It's something physical that you can see and almost touch, you know.
Like my favorite stories from the bygone eras of Hollywood are films like John Carpenter's The Thing or William Friedkin's Sorcerer, where you get like these filmmakers legitimately doing great stuff and getting it on camera. And sometimes it doesn't work out right, and that makes it into the film, and that still works out well. Like I love
Absolutely
all of that. Like I'm a sucker for practical effects, and so few filmmakers are even doing them more. It's one reason to go see a Christopher Nolan movie in my mind, because he's one of the few directors still doing practical effects.
Or Michel Gondry if he makes any more films.
Sure. I think he's got one coming out later this year. I think we said on the Green Hornet episode.
Something I wanted to call out, which your reference to The Thing made me think of. The thing that always makes me mad when movies have CGI animals in them is because I've seen The Thing. I've seen that dog, and I've seen how fucking well that dog. Like, I love Kurt Russell, I love Keith David, I love everybody in that movie, even fucking Diabetes. What's his fucking name?
Wilford
Oh,
Brimley.
God damn it. Thank you. I'm sorry. I usually know his name, but for some reason, Diabetes.
Fucking Diabetes.
He was also on that show, Our House.
Yes.
It's a very, very, very fine house. But anyway,
I want to
nobody
go
remembers
back
that
inside.
show.
I remember that show.
Speaking of shows nobody remembers, Christy Swanson's dad or uncle or whatever, that's the dad from Life Goes On, dude.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, that's fucking Corky's pop, dude.
That's Bill Smitrovich.
Yeah, dude.
The November Man's own Bill Smitrovich.
Yeah. What was I going on about before I went on that tangent?
The Thing.
Okay, yeah. So The Dog and the Thing is amazing. And it's a big testament to, for me, when big studios use CGI for animals. I know it's easier, but you can get an animal to do those things. And this is another example. The Phantom is another example. The wolf and the horse in this, perfect, beautiful. And there are even some times where, like when he climbs the ramp up to the boat to get the guy, you can see that he's obviously like following some food off screen somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't matter, dude.
Doesn't matter.
There. It's there, and I fucking believe it.
A great line in this movie. Your dog's a wolf. I know.
Yeah, fucking A.
I know. Like, fuck, duh. And again, you can tell that's in a more comedic script, and that probably would have been played up just like maybe 10% more, and it would have probably hit a lot better. But like, again, like you're playing everything very earnestly. I don't know. I think there are times when it works. There are times when it doesn't. Like, I'm a big fan of finding the truth in as an actor. I love being able to find the truth in comedy. And I think that's where you're able to, I think that's where the big laughs tend to come. Like comedy that has like a realistic, believable backbone to it. I think if you start to get too absurd and too off the rails, it loses something for me. I won't say that's universally true, but again, for me, that's where I find the comedy. And I feel like them playing it straight, it's good, but I feel like, you know, like Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman 84, it could be better. Like I want to see I do want to see the Joe Dante version of this movie. I don't know that it would be better, but I would still love to see it and what he would do with this material. Again, I think Treat Williams needs to be there regardless, because again, I think Treat knows exactly what this movie should have been and is playing that 100% across the board.
Absolutely. Agreed.
But yeah, man, The Phantom. What a movie. What a fucking movie.
I'm so glad that I finally watched this movie.
I'm glad you were able to, man.
I almost watched it again today, but instead I wasted my time on the adults.
I mean, dude, you can always watch it when we're done.
No, I have to watch Winning Time when we're done because it's Sunday.
That's true. I mean, you could watch.
Well,
you could watch it after.
Now, but for me, it's Monday.
I was gonna say I still got another 42 minutes till Monday, but yeah, let's go ahead and try to bring this in for landing. The Phantom opened on June 7th, 1996. It opened to $5 million, $5.1 million. It was not the biggest film opening this weekend. That distinction goes to a little film by a little director called Mikey Bay. The film is The Rock, starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. The Rock opening at number 1 this week to $25 million. Number 2, my favorite film in the franchise, the original Mission Impossible. In its 3rd week, it's already earned $130 million, earns 14 this weekend. In 3rd place, another great film of the mid-90s.
Steven, wait. I have to go behind the curtain here and say I was just taking a pee because I didn't think I'd have anything to say about anything. But now, even though I love this
That's
movie,
what you
and
get for thinking.
I remember it being super hyped, I can see why it didn't do so well. Can you tell us again what the number 1 movie was?
The Rock?
Steven? The motherfucking Rock.
The Rock. Welcome to The Rock.
One of the best action movies of the 1990s, the mid-90s at least. I named a truck Stanley Goodspeed because of that movie. One of the 2 S10s that I've had in my life. I will say,
though, the best action movie of the 1990s, and maybe one of the best action movies of all time.
Heat? Are you gonna say Heat? You're gonna say Heat, aren't you?
I'm gonna say Heat.
He's about to say Heat. There it is. Okay.
You know I'm gonna say Heat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm about, sir.
Have you read the sequel?
I haven't. I'm waiting for the movie.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right.
Waiting for the movie.
And also, Mission Impossible, the original, best of the series. Though I'm not saying. I mean, I love every movie in the Mission Impossible series that I have seen.
It's a good series.
And I love 2 more than most people do. But the first one for me is wowzers. When Billy Zane was rolling around in the elevator shafts in this movie, I was thinking, I hope he doesn't get Emilio Estevez.
He better not get Emilio Estevez up in here. No, man. I've heard people say that Mission Impossible is difficult to understand, but I don't get that.
The first one? Are you kidding me?
For 2 reasons, I don't get that. One, I watched it
like 13 when that came out, and like I got the entire thing. Are you kidding me? What the fuck?
I watched it so much as a kid.
And I'm kind of dumb.
It was on regular rotation in my house as a kid. And secondly, because my dad loved it. But secondly, I watched it with my dad. And my dad is one of those guys who's like, did you catch that? This is what, like, he's one of those guys who like watches movies.
Yeah, dude.
And so he's like, did you catch that? And we would watch it so many times because I think he was trying to like figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, so we watched it all the time. Like we did the same thing with The Matrix. Like we absolutely, like I've heard people be like, oh, I didn't realize that when Switch calls him a copper top, she's referring to a battery because that's what Morpheus pulls out. My dad got that first viewing. My dad's like, see, that's copper top battery. She called him copper top earlier. Did you catch that? Like that was who I grew up watching movies with. Was that guy, that man. So that has influenced absolutely the way that I watch films. So I absolutely figured out Mission Impossible. Like my dad and I cracked that shit together. And I am a better person for it, I think. 4th place, Dragonheart. Remember that? Sean Connery's got 2 movies in the top 5 this week.
Dragonheart, they're still making those, dude.
Are they
like
really?
Ben Kingsley was the dragon at some point. I saw a trailer for one the other day, dude.
I know Robbie Benson was in the second one. Robbie Benson was a dragon in the second one. That I know.
There's a whole thing, like there's a whole subculture of fans of that. And
that's one of those franchises where you're like, I didn't know people were asking for this. And then you realize not only are they asking for it, but they've been making those for years. Like Land Before Time is another one. I'm like, wait, people were asking for these sequels?
14 deep. We're 14 deep right now in Land Before Time.
Exactly.
That was like 88, 89. Like that's one every couple years, you know?
That's insane. Don Bluth, what a weirdo.
But the kids love it.
Do they?
Oh, Brett would have understood that reference. Anyway, continue.
Oh, sorry.
We miss Brett when he's not here.
We really fucking do. God, I wish he could be on all the time. I really do.
I do too.
Damn his excursions to the Bengala jungle.
He's an integral part of this podcast.
He is. He is very much so. In fifth place, Eddie, the movie Eddie, and
that was Whoopi Goldberg.
I think
and
so.
A monkey.
Yes, Whoopi Goldberg.
How do I know that? What the fuck?
I don't know why you know that, but yeah, that is I think that's not what Whoopi Goldberg. That's Whoopi Goldberg
and
coaching the Knicks.
Oh, okay, same thing.
No, Theodore Rex is the one with her and the dinosaur. Don't ask me why the fuck I know that off the top of my head.
What's the one with her and a monkey, though? Is there one with her and a monkey?
I think you're thinking of the movie Ed, which is Matt LeBlanc and a monkey.
Same thing.
Playing baseball. Are you saying Matt LeBlanc and Whoopi Goldberg are the same person? Because you need to check yourself prior to wrecking yourself, sir.
Pretty much, yeah. No,
I'm sorry. One of those actors has an EGOT, and the other could only dream of getting an EGOT.
Oh, you're right. No, Whoopi is the shit. You're right.
Whoopi is the shit.
In the context of movies with monkeys and T-Rexes, pretty much the same.
In sixth place, The Phantom. So it comes in opens at sixth place this weekend.
Oh boy, word of mouth. Not even word of mouth's gonna save that motherfucker. You're not gonna scream on this. No.
It only makes a little over 3 times that in its domestic box office. Doesn't have much of a release globally, although I do have a funny story about the global release of this. Seventh place, you've got Spy Hard, the Leslie Nielsen film Spy Hard.
I watched that at the theater. I went to the theater to see that because Weird Al was in it and he did the theme song.
He did the theme, yeah, the James Bond-esque theme. It's the theme from Spy Hard.
I hate those kind of movies. I don't like those kind of parodies. Those Zuckerman airplane type shit. I think they all suck.
Zuckers, yeah. The Zaz.
Yeah. Naked Gun sucks.
Not a fan.
It all sucks.
Not a fan.
Sorry, go ahead. No, please, Steven, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm not a fan of that style of parody. Not a fan.
I almost put my foot in my mouth. I almost made a lot of enemies there. Please continue.
Eighth place, the original Arrival, the one with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
That opened that opened the previous week at number 5, is down to 8, and it's continuing.
I liked that movie. I saw that on video when it came out.
I only ever saw the tail end of that movie because I would only ever see it when I was like watching something else on HBO and it happened to be the movie that was on before. So I would always catch the end where that kid's legs do the weird bird thing and goes running off.
Yes.
Number 9, Flipper, future episode of this podcast, Flipper.
I saw that at the theater too.
Paul Hogan and Elijah Wood. In 8th place, in 10th place, The Truth About Cats and Dogs. I do want to call out the next 5 though, because 4 of those 5 are fucking wild. 11, Toy Story.
Word.
12, one of my favorites, The Birdcage.
Hey, yeah. You love that movie.
Love that movie, dude.
It is a great movie.
It's so fucking. I kind of want to watch it like right now. I'm not going to, but I kind of want to watch it right now.
Oh, do it as soon as we're done here. Pop it on. Fall asleep to it. Why the fuck not?
In 13th, The Craft.
Okay. I would love a 4K of that.
And 14th place, a movie I'm not actually familiar with, Cold Comfort Farm.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is.
It's a Gramercy film. Don't know anything about it. And in 15th,
maybe that's why they went bankrupt.
And in 15th place, Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh, with your boy Tim Curry.
With my boy Tim Curry.
That's a fun one. I love that.
This movie
truly is the Michael Caine of that movie.
He really is. He's so fucking good. Honestly, I think he's even better than Michael Caine because he's like.
I don't know.
Michael Caine plays it 100% straight. Tim Curry is going like balls to the wall.
Look,
insane.
and I get that. I would say their performances are comparable, but Muppet Christmas Carol is so much of a better film than Muppet Treasure Island. Even though I love Muppet Treasure Island, right here, raising my hand, I'm the guy who loves that movie. But Muppet Christmas Carol is just leaps and bounds ahead of it in every aspect.
Here's what I will say. Here's my stance on this. As a Muppet fan, here's my stance.
Please do, yes.
I will say Muppet Christmas Carol is the better film. Muppet Treasure Island is the better Muppet movie.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Like if you look at like those early Muppet, like particularly the original trilogy, Muppet Movie, Muppet Caper, Take Manhattan. You look at those three, like the madcap energy of the Muppets is so pure and distilled. That comes across more in Treasure Island than it does in Christmas Carol.
Well, and see, for me,
Christmas Carol, they're playing it very safe and very straight. And in Treasure Island, they go off the rails. And that's why I think it's the better Muppet movie. Again, Muppet movie. I want to make that very clear distinction.
I understand that. And I kind of agree with that. But at the same time, I like the fact that Muppet Christmas Carol takes the Muppets somewhere else.
Sure.
Treasure Island, stays with that the same vibe they had going. But Muppet Christmas Carol is kind of like, well, what if we took that vibe and took those characters from that and put it in something that's not so much that vibe? And they still get that vibe from time to time, though. Rizzo and Gonzo through that whole movie, as the chorus of that film, Rizzo and Gonzo, they represent old school Muppets. They're like, hey, we're still here, but we want to tell this story.
It's very subdued though. And I think that is the difference, because you get it's in your face in Treasure Island.
Yeah.
And I think intentionally so. Like they're doing what they did, but it's a lot more Muppety.
Now, what do you think of Muppets in Space, Steven? What's your thoughts on that?
I think you should probably go back and listen to our episode on Muppets in Space, and you will find out everything you need to know about
that. Following this conversation, when we're done with this podcast, the listeners that are interested in talking about Muppets with people like ourselves should check out that episode.
You know what? We did
attest to the fact that it was a good episode.
We did an entire month devoted to the late, great Jim Henson. And you know what?
Who designed the fucking costume in this movie?
We had really great, I think we had a guest on every week. We had really great guests on that. We had Hope Lickner and Beck Stow from High on Cartoons joined us for The Dark Crystal. Brian Kuiper joined us for Follow That Bird. Landon DeCrastis, my college buddy Landon DeCrastis, joined us for Labyrinth. We had my friend Andrew Johnson, my high school buddy Andrew Johnson, come on for Muppets in Space. And then one of my former students, who is a filmmaker in her own right, Katie Doyle, came on to talk about the Happy Land murders.
Happy Time
Murders. Yeah.
Unfortunate movie that
it was. But we did a whole last month on Jim Henson and his creations and his legacy. So definitely check out that entire month. That was, I think, June of 22. Last June, we covered all those, and it was a really fucking fun time. And I think the Jim Henson biographer may have actually listened to those episodes, and I am deeply embarrassed that he did. Like, that is maybe the most, like, he went through and like liked all those posts, and I'm like, fuck, did he actually go back and listen to those episodes? I really hope he didn't. That's so fucking embarrassing.
It may have slipped by listeners a few minutes ago when I said that the Jim Henson's Creature Shop designed the Phantom costume for this movie.
With the big ass skull on the chest.
I think we just stop for a second. Let that breathe. Yeah.
That just happened, and we let it happen.
We did. There was nothing we could do.
This movie was a fucking bomb. It was made on a $45 million production budget, and it earned $17 million at the box office. Not a hit.
No, unfortunately, it's not.
The tomatometer score on this one is a 43%, which feels disrespectful.
Yeah, I feel disrespected, and I didn't even have anything to do with this movie.
The critics' consensus: the script gives Billy Zane little to work with, and thus he plays the Phantom as a friendly but completely one-dimensional hero.
Fuck off.
I mean, sure.
No, dude.
Let's all of us fuck off. I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. This movie got a 53% on Metacritic.
Yeah.
that score based on, it's loading here, my damn computer. I can't believe I didn't fucking pull this up before we started recording.
A billion reviews.
That is a rookie move.
22. It's based on 22 reviews.
22
Steven.
reviews. There we go. Mixed or average reviews based on 22 critics. There we go. And of course, the Letterboxd score is a 2.5. Tucker out of 5 stars. Do what?
Before I tell you what my rating is on this movie, let me tell you, motherfuck Letterboxd. All right, look, I like reading your reviews on Letterboxd, Stephen.
Thank you.
But everybody else on Letterboxd is just trying to be funny. It's just it's meme culture. It's meme culture, the movie review website. Like nobody, half the time they don't even watch the movies. Other times they just want to like be a silly fun boy and not even take movie criticism seriously. So you know what? Motherfuck Letterboxd.
That is why.
Movie, go ahead.
That is why I carefully curate who I follow on Letterboxd.
Fuck Letterboxd.
Because I want to make sure that I'm getting. First of all, I want to make sure that I'm listening to people who I respect. I may not always agree with them, but people I at least respect their opinions on film, and not just some random, fucking internet troll on there.
And you know what?
Being all internet trolling.
For the record, fuck meme culture, man. It's okay to take things seriously every once in a while. All right.
Look, if David Lynch taught us everything, it's that sincerity is a powerful, powerful tool. You
know what? Don't start and end every sentence with LOL, because not everything is fucking LOLs.
No. Half the time people say LOL, they're not laughing at all, let alone out loud.
Anyway, I give this movie a 4 out of 5, Steven.
It's a 3.5 for me.
I almost gave it a 3.5, but then I remembered about how much I want to watch it again, like really soon. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, that's a 4.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good movie. Like what can I say? Like it slaps. This movie slaps.
In spite of itself sometimes.
Definitely. No, it's good. Like it's better than it has really any business being. And yet here we are. Like it's good. It's good. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
Yeah, dude.
I just maybe without Christy Swanson.
Whatever.
But yeah.
Fuck her, but whatever. She's in this movie.
And find a way to bring back Treat Williams. Like that I'm okay with.
And that's another one we were talking about in What Are We Watching Out? Kurt Vonnegut and Trevor Moore both just fell down some fucking stairs. Mm-hmm. Treat Williams just got in a car accident.
Yeah.
And died. Like one day he's just living his life like normal, and bam, he was dead.
He posted on Twitter like earlier that day about like riding his tractor around his farm, like, and then like a couple hours later he was dead. Like, just fuck. God. Life is fleeting and precious, and cling on to it for dear fucking life.
Yeah, dude.
Cherish the people in your life. Cherish the people you love, because we're not guaranteed our next breath. Like it's tenuous and it's precious, and we're lucky to have the time that we do. God, I just got really fucking serious, but yeah, it's fucking tragic.
We'll do it. Well, some shit like that, like Treat Williams' death. Well, like you were saying, like he was just doing his thing,
mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden he's dead. Yeah, that'll do it to you, man. That'll put shit in perspective for sure.
100%. But yeah, that is our episode on The Phantom. Tucker just mentioned, what are we watching? If you want to hear us talk about Kurt Vonnegut falling downstairs, and the documentary that Tucker watched this week about Kurt Vonnegut, you should head over to our Patreon.
We talk about Kurt Vonnegut falling down steps for an hour. It's the only thing we talk about the entire time. No, I'm just kidding. We talk about what we were watching, and also, if all goes well, we will be premiering our new theme song to What Are We Watching on this episode, done by future guest Jimmy, aka Evan Toohey of the Grand Voodoo Band. Checked him out on Bandcamp and on straight up Instagram, and just anything, just type in Grand Voodoo Band and your boy's going to be there.
And also check out our Patreon, patreon.com/disenfranchise, where you can find, or disenfranchise pod, sorry. Patreon.com/disenfranchise pod, where you can find that episode plus like 15 to 16, 17 other episodes of that show, plus literal hours of other content that we have recorded for you over the years. Brett and Tucker and I have put a lot of time and effort, along with some other guests. We've had Brian Kuiper, Hope Lichtner, like great friends of the show on Behind the Paywall as well. And
we even try to have our main feed guests on What Are We Watching in the modern iteration. Yeah.
So we've got episodes with Hope Lickner and Beck Stow of High Iron Cartoons, episode with our good buddy JP Leck, who joined us a couple weeks ago to talk detention. He talks about what he watched this week too. Like it's just kind of a fun pre-show conversation to get the juices roiling before we do this thing. So check that out, patreon.com/disenfranchpod for $5 a month. All that and more can be yours. Seriously, so much content behind the paywall there. Check it out. And there's a 7-day free trial, so you can absolutely sign up for that too. You can find the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, and Threads at disenfranchpod. Although I'm not going to lie, I have not updated Threads in a while because I think the world has generally just forgotten about Threads. But if I can get the podcast on Blue Sky, that is the next step.
Motherfucking Blue Ski.
Motherfucking Blue Sky. But I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky and Threads at Chewy Walrus. Tucker, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me, as always, on YouTube at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. Also, Tuck Mugs is still a thing. I know people who are following Tuck Mugs. Look, we haven't posted in a little over a week, and I get that. We had to do some staff restructuring over at the team, Tuck Mugs. We had some people who weren't really working out, so we had to get rid of them and get some other people in. And now I feel like it's really, the juices are flowing. We're heading in the right direction. We're really going to have some quality content really soon. I anticipate a Tuck Mugs post within the next 3 days at the most. Probably tomorrow. Probably motherfucking in like, who knows, like 12 hours. There might be a Tuck Mugs, post. Maybe. Who knows? But we've been really working hard to curate that and figure out when's the best time to put out which mugs and everything. So it's a whole thing. It's a lot harder than it looks. We make it look really easy and seamless, but it can be really difficult at times. So if you're on Instascam, just look up at Tuck_mugs, and you can see the output that our wonderful, recently restructured Tuck Mugs crew have been putting out.
And of course, our absent friend, Brett Wright, you can find him on Instagram and Letterboxd at sus_warlock. Also, shoot on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a nice big old 5-star rating and review to help other people find us as well. And while you're on the internet, go ahead and shoot us an email at disenfranchpod@gmail.com as well. That is our episode on the 1996 film The Phantom. So for all of us here at Disenfranchise, me, Stephen Foxworthy, the great Tucker, and the absent Brett Wright, until next time, slam evil, something else,
etc.
Yeah. Ad nauseum, infinitum, ipso facto, the Phantom.
Forever and ever.
Amen.